Welcome back. Well, there's a blood moon on the rise. People around the world be able to catch a glimpse of it tonight when the moon ducks into the Earth's shadow. This will be the second blood moon, also known as a lunar eclipse of the year, and will last a whopping 1 hour and 43 minutes, making it the longest one this century. But the eclipse's impressive length also means that the moon itself will actually look a little smaller and dimmer than usual. Now, this is because the moon will be as far away as it gets from the Earth on its elliptical orbit, making the moon appear smaller. But the moon also moves more slowly when it's that far away. Now, for us in India, the estimated time for the eclipse to start is about 11:44 p.m. tonight, and the total lunar eclipse is expected to begin at around 1 a.m. From 1:15 a.m. to about 2:43 a.m., the moon will be in the middle of the Earth's shadow and will appear reddish in color, which is where lunar eclipses get their blood moon nickname. It will continue till about 4:58 a.m. This morning. My colleague Ravi, in fact, spoke to a young amateur astronomer to find out more. Listen in.
For more on this, I have Ravi with me in the studio, and he has got a special guest who is an amateur astronomer, in fact, tossing across to him for more.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Yes, as you rightly pointed out, I've got an amateur astronomer over here. His name is Praveen Suryavanshi, but I think he's behaving like a Chandravanshi today because he'll be watching the moon this evening, and he has been watching the moon for a while. Now, for a person like me who is very bad in science, the basic understanding says that a lunar eclipse happens when the Earth comes in between the sun and the moon.
Exactly.
And that is exactly what will happen tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these are some visuals that we have courtesy NASA, which pretty much explains how a lunar eclipse is or how it works. Today's happens to be very, very special. Before I get down talking about the lunar eclipse, Praveen, let's actually flash some interesting details that we have in terms of why it is one of the biggest in the century. Moon to pass through the middle of Earth's shadow. That will happen tonight. Longest total eclipse until 9th of June 2123. So clearly the longest lunar eclipse of the century. In India, it will be seen for about 6 hours in totality from the start till the end. It begins at about 11:44 if I'm not wrong this evening.
So 6 hours is span when it is beginning from penumbral eclipse
Okay.
till the end of
Which
the
is
lunar
going over my head. You'll have to break it down for us.
Yeah, definitely I will show that.
Okay.
So here the speciality of today's eclipse is that, so as you mentioned, it is going through the middle of the shadow of the Earth, right?
Right.
But it's all about the game of shadows.
Okay.
So that defines how long it is going to be. So before that, let's understand.
You're still talking like a professional. I want you to talk like an amateur because I am an amateur and I have viewers, many of them who are moon watchers, might not understand the entire phenomenon. So why not start from the beginning? What
Yes,
exactly
let
happened?
me explain about the moon's orbit around the Earth first, then we can go in detail.
Okay.
So, let me show my laptop to you.
Okay.
The simulation of, it's.
If I could ask my director to actually plug in the visuals of the laptop, I think yes. Brilliant. Fantastic job. Okay, now you can explain.
So here you can see, from left side, we have sunrise falling on the Earth, as well as, we have moon in the middle.
Right.
So, we know that, moon is orbiting the Earth. So, at this position, moon is not visible to us, right?
Correct.
Why? Because, the sunlight is blocked by the moon and we cannot see the moon, the daylight part of the moon. So whatever we see is the night side of the moon, which is not visible. That's why we have new moon, okay?
Right.
At this position. So as moon is orbiting anti-clockwise around the Earth, you can see, we see slowly the phases of the moon, right?
Right.
So why? Because we will start seeing some part of light which is falling on the moon. As days progress, let's say at this point, it is after 7 days of new moon, so we see half of the moon. That is called first quarter. Okay? Why? Because we are not able to see entire moon's face, right? So we will be only seeing this particular part of the moon.
Right.
And the other part is being blocked by the shadow.
Correct.
And as it is orbiting the Earth, it comes to this point, okay, where we see full
15
face
days.
of the moon after
Yeah.
15 days of new moon.
Right.
But you see,
So that is the full moon.
at this point also, it is in between sun and moon, right? But eclipse is not happening. Why? Because these are not aligned in straight line every time, every full moon day.
Brilliant. So it is on the lunar eclipse day that all
Yes,
three of them
there are
are
special
aligned in the
days.
same line.
Exactly.
Correct. Okay, go
there
on.
are special days that can happen like twice a year. So that will where Earth shadow will be falling on the moon. And after full moon again it is progressing in its orbit, and after let's say 7 days of full moon, you see other half of the moon. This is called third quarter or last quarter.
Right.
So again, in its orbit, again it is coming back to new moon position, right?
Correct.
So these are
So that is the normal cycle of the moon.
typical cycle of the moon, which
Yes.
lasts for about 30 days.
Correct.
Precisely 29.5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm.
Now here the question is about lunar eclipse.
Mm.
So solar eclipse can happen when moon is sitting between Earth and Sun, right?
Right.
So this is not the case.
Mm.
That will be topic for
It's
next.
the reverse.
Yes, it's a reverse.
Mm.
So when moon Earth is sitting between Sun and Moon,
Mm.
then its shadow can fall on the moon. But this is not happening every full moon day.
Mm.
Why? Because they are not in straight line.
Right.
And the thing is, the Earth shadow is covering very narrow region in space, through which moon is not moving every time. Why? Because it is little bit having an angle inclination with respect to Earth's orbit around the Sun. That is called ecliptic. So that is about 5 degrees. So if it is off 5 degrees,
Just for the benefit of our viewers or people
Yes.
like me, so let's assume that the sun is somewhere here, the earth is somewhere here, moon would be
Yeah,
at an
little bit-
angle.
little
So it
bit
is not
angle.
falling in the straight line.
let me show that also to you.
Okay.
So this is the moon's inclination. This is the actual simulation of the moon and Earth system. Okay.
Okay.
So those are the scales. Those are the sizes to scale.
Okay.
So as you see, this is the orbit of the moon, which is speed up,
Hmm.
and you can see, as moon is orbiting, it is not every time crossing the disk
In
of
the line
Earth,
of
right?
Yes.
That blue circle represents the Earth.
Hmm.
The grey circle represents the moon.
Okay.
As it is orbiting the Earth,
Hmm.
you see every time it is not crossing the disk of the Sun,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
This view is from Sun,
Hmm.
as you are seeing from the Sun.
Right.
So whenever it is crossing the disk, you see above the zoomed image, right?
Hmm.
Here.
Hmm.
So here you see the zoomed image,
Hmm.
where you see the moon will be crossing the disk of the Earth.
Hmm.
So at that point only the eclipse happens.
Hmm.
So here the
On your representation, moon is actually speeding, but that is not the case. It takes about a month.
exactly. So here you can see the months right below. It is passing through months in few seconds.
Right.
So the yellow region, what you see is that is a period where eclipse can happen.
Okay.
So that is a period when the moon is crossing the disk of the Earth, when you see from the Sun. So which means at that point of time, the shadow of the Earth can fall on the moon.
Okay.
Right? Now, it's all about the game of shadows, as I said before.
Okay.
So how it is going to take place, let me show you in another slide. So here is the representation of the Sun, Moon and Earth system. So where you can see the shadows of the Moon and Sun here.
Again, if our director could actually go full screen on that particular visual, yes, that gives us better understanding. Okay.
Yes. Now here you can see the blue again represent the Earth, the grays, Moon and Sun is in yellow color. So here you can see the shadows of the Moon and Sun, Moon and Earth, right? So you can see there are two type of shadows there. So one is darker, one is little bit lighter.
Right.
So the darker shadow is called umbra shadow, and the lighter shadow is called penumbra. So it means that whenever we have light source which is bigger than the object, so then it can form these kind of shadows.
Okay.
So let me show you that, let's say when I am bringing Earth very close to Sun, you see the umbra shadow is very much narrowing
Very
down,
small.
right?
Yes,
So
obviously.
the penumbra shadow is very much more. And if you see the
I think
moons,
if the Earth comes closer to the Sun, obviously the convergence would be much more.
yeah,
As
definitely it
compared
is not going to happen, right?
Right.
It is orbiting at the same distance every
Right,
time.
right.
Whether it is summer or winter, the distance is not much. So if I tell you during winters, Earth will be closer to the Sun. But seasons are not occurring because the distance of the Earth from the Sun.
Right.
It's because of the tilt of the Earth. So that is why we have sunrise falling at different angle. So that is leading to seasons. If it is because of distance, then we'll have same season throughout the globe, right?
Correct.
Why we have different season in one hemisphere and other hemisphere? Because of the tilt of the Earth. So that is a subject for other. But
That's
yeah,
a separate day
yeah,
discussion.
separate day
Yeah,
discussion.
for now let's concentrate on this.
Yeah. So
I'll
now,
tell
as
you my thoughts.
I said, yeah, it is a game of shadows. So it depends how the moon is moving through the shadow of the Earth,
Okay.
right? So how it is moving. And as I said before, there are two types of shadows. Why we are having that kind of shadows? Why? Because Sun is larger than the Earth, right? So when sunlight is falling on the Earth, so it will fall in different angles, right? So sometimes rays go from here to in this direction. Rays will come from this direction and go this direction. So there is
And that is what is reflected back from
the
the moon.
convergence of two shadows is leading to umbra.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
that is
so. For my understanding, if you could bring the moon over here,
yes.
okay.
So this is the
This is what will happen tonight. If I'm
yes,
not
this
wrong?
will happen tonight.
Okay.
So
That is the reason
entering
why
in-
it will last longer.
So as you said, 6 hours duration is starting from this touch, first
Okay.
contact I can say,
Okay.
till last contact. Okay. So the first contact is happening about 10:45 if I am not wrong.
11:44.
No.
Oh, 10:45.
Yes.
Okay. And
About
it will
11
last-
o'clock I guess.
Yeah, that's what. As in the
So the
information
6
that we
hours
have-
duration I am telling, 6 hours. So this is the period when moon is entering the partial, the penumbral shot of the Earth.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Penumbral eclipse, or we can call this is umbra, right? This is penumbra. So penumbra shot of the Earth is it is covering the
So
penumbra
just
shot
to
of the
prove
Earth.
that I have been a very good student, Praveen, let me explain it to our viewers. Obviously, you'll have to move the moon
Yes,
as
yes.
I tell you.
So it is entering the
tonight,
penumbra.
what will happen is that at about 11:44 or thereabout, the moon will enter this zone.
Yes.
And from here till here, we will have total eclipse,
No,
which
at
will last for 6 hours.
Yeah, this is entering about 11 o'clock, 10:45, 11 o'clock.
Correct.
Exactly.
Till about 5 o'clock in the morning. So
Yes,
that
yes.
works out to about 6
6
hours.
hours.
So the total eclipse is 6 hours. And the key lunar eclipse is when the moon enters this part and stays till here.
Exactly.
Which will be about an hour and 43 minutes.
Exactly.
I think I'm qualified to get a certificate from astronomy.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
here you can see, it is entering the penumbral shot of the Earth.
Right.
And at this point of time, we don't see moon being covered with shadow.
Okay.
So it will be almost as bright as what we see on full moon day, but will be little bit dimmer. But it won't be prominent actually.
Okay. Like normal days, it won't be as prominent.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I think that puts things in perspective. If we could bring us back on the screen, then we'll be able to explain it to our audience. I think the phenomenon is fairly simple. So for a moment, if this is the sun and if this is the earth, the moon will hover over here somewhere and it will move like this.
Yes.
Now that movement wherein the entire shadow falls will take about 6 hours.
Yes.
And the central place wherein you have got intense shadow of the
Intense
earth falling
shadow
on the
of the
moon
moon.
will last for about an hour and 45
45,
minutes.
yeah.
And this phenomenon, I'm understanding, is happening for the first time in this century and will not happen till about 21, 23.
Yeah, still next 1 or 5 years it won't happen.
Okay.
It's not about it will happen,
Okay.
but the duration of moon moving through the shadow is longer this time.
Okay.
So
And this is a natural astronomical phenomenon.
Yes,
Nothing
this is
man-made,
natural.
right?
Nothing
Pollution has got
natural.
nothing to do
Obviously.
with the moon coming down.
Yeah, we'll come to that point later.
Okay.
Pollution also plays a role.
Okay.
We see how much reddening of the moon will happen.
Oh.
So that will be for
Some
next-
other day's
yeah.
discussion.
No, we can discuss.
Oh, we can discuss it. Okay.
So here you can see, as it is entering the umbra shot of the Earth, so which is the darker shadow. Here, the actual eclipse starts.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it is entering into Earth shadow completely.
Correct.
Yeah. This is the period when that is happening about 1:45, I guess.
So 1 hour 43-minute duration.
Yes.
Where
that
you
is
will have
where we'll
absolute
have
blackout,
absolute
blood moon.
Blood moon.
This will happen. What is the time, Shruti, it will happen at?
11:44 is the information that we have right
No,
now.
11:44 is
At
when
1 o'clock,
the
it
first
is-
one begins.
Right.
And I think the other one would be at about 1 o'clock something.
Yeah,
So, at
first
1
one.
o'clock-
At 1:15 is when total eclipse
Yes, yes.
is
This is the period
expected to
when
begin.
we have total eclipse. Okay, this is the start of total eclipse when moon is entering entire shadow of the Earth.
Right.
And this duration will be till here.
Till about 2:53 if I'm not wrong. Thereabout.
2:43.
Yes, 2:43. That this is the duration of that total eclipse period.
Okay.
And we see reddish shadow, reddish tinge on the moon because scattering of light through the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay, now for the moon watchers,
So
what is it
as
that
you are
they get to
showing
watch
some
today?
visuals like before, like there is a scattering of rays,
Right.
different rainbow colors being shown, right? You can show that video. That will be demonstration for that.
Absolutely. In fact, if my director can actually cue up that visual as well, I think people will have a better understanding. But Praveen, I want to ask you, of course, there's a lot being told about today's blood moon, but what makes it different compared to other blood moons?
It's not much difference compared to other blood moons. It's just little bit longer.
Okay.
And little bit longer in the sense you have more time to analyze it, study it in terms of pollution of the Earth. So as I said before, the reddening of moon is happening because Earth has atmosphere, right? If it is not having atmosphere means it will have perfect pitch dark shadow on the moon.
Right.
So when you take solar eclipse, right? In that during solar eclipse, moon shadow is falling on the Earth. We don't see any reddish tinge on the Earth, right? Why?
Right.
Because moon doesn't have any atmosphere.
Correct.
So it cannot scatter any light.
But because Earth has atmosphere.
Earth has atmosphere, it is scattering the light. It is bending the light as it is passing through the atmosphere. We see sunsets and sunrises reddish in color, right? It doesn't mean that sun is converting into reddish color or yellowish color. It means that as sunlight is entering into atmosphere, it is passing through different layers, right? And it is being filtered out.
Right.
So the shorter wavelengths,
So
let's
the
say.
gist of the story is that we mankind have not just destroyed our planet, we are also destroying the entire astronomical system that is there in place,
I mean, it's
owing to
not-
the pollution that we are creating.
It's not about destruction. I can say like the more
But we are causing an influence of some sort of the
influence,
earth.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
So we can study about this, the atmospheric pollution by studying the reddening of the moon. So it will be more reddish means we have more particles suspended in the atmosphere.
I've got a-
So you can see this visual, right?
Right.
As you can see during total eclipse, the sunlight being scattered through the Earth's atmosphere and it is falling on the moon. So exactly at the center. So that will happen only when it is coming in the middle, not when it is entering the shadow.
Praveen, I've got a very, very basic question.
Yes.
And you can dismiss it as absolutely lame. But the question is, what is it that moon watchers can watch this evening because they can't watch the moon?
Yeah, if it is cloudy sky, they can definitely go online and watch telecast from other countries.
Okay.
Moon, lunar eclipse is something we can see from entire half of the hemisphere, right? Half of the
So
globe.
for the people of India, let's focus on our target audience. The people of India, they put on their telescopes tonight at
Okay.
11:43. What is it that they watch?
At 11:43, pretty much you won't see anything.
Okay.
So after 12 only, you will start seeing, moon being entered into the Earth's shadow.
Okay.
So
you will
at
see
1
that
o'clock,
dimming of the moon happening over
yes,
a period
dimming
of
of the
time.
moon is happening.
And then there will be a complete blackout situation also when the total shadow
Yeah,
consumes.
it won't be complete blackout, it will be reddening as I said before.
Okay.
So, so that will happen about 1 o'clock, 1 a.m.
Okay.
Also,
And
if
it will
I
last-
can interject here, Praveen, what is in fact the best way to watch the moon if it is visible in India?
Obviously naked eye. So if it is, the skies are clear, naked eye, we don't need any optical aid basically.
But I'm sorry you don't have the privilege because tomorrow morning you're doing an early morning shift. Alright, so Shruti watching the moon is completely ruled out. But thank you so much, Praveen. Wonderful having you in our studios. Let's hope that all our people who are watching this particular broadcast have the experience of their lifetime because not many of us will last for another century to watch probably another blood moon.
Yes, yes.
So let's make the most
lifetime
of this.
opportunity.
Right.
Definitely we'll have a lunar eclipse every year. I can say 2 lunar eclipses every year, but every lunar eclipse won't be a total eclipse.
This one is a special one.
Yeah. Again, we have next year also we have total eclipse, but it is not lasting this much.
Right.
So January 31st this year also we had total eclipse, right?
Okay.
So which was not again this much long. So it was shorter. It was less than half an hour, which was visible from India. So it depends, where you are located and how much, the duration of the total eclipse. All matters.
One last question. There are some superstitions surrounding lunar eclipse. You should not watch the moon
Yes,
during a lunar eclipse and all. Is that true or is it just a figment of our imagination?
See, I'm not eligible to comment on that actually because a lot of research being done on such kind of topics. But the thing is actually the matter of fact is like when you talk about ancient eclipses, so they didn't have knowledge of this moon being covered with the shadow of the earth, right?
Right.
So they used to think that some demon is eating moon.
Oh,
So they used to
So that is where the
classify as
superstition
ancient. That is
stems
called Rahu. Rahu Ketu we call it, right? So Rahu is eating the moon. They used to think like that. It is a demon, right? So Rahu is nothing but the point in space where eclipse can happen. As I said before, as moon is orbiting the earth, it is the point when it is coming to that point that is called node. So that is entering, that is causing the shadow falling on the moon, right? So the thing is again, regarding pregnancy, the pregnant ladies should not go out, they say, right? So why? Because back then, the people didn't have any artificial light, right? So when lady is pregnant, actually, she cannot see.
walking in the darkness,
Walking in
there is
the
a
dark is
possibility
danger.
of an accident
So
happening.
nowadays we have artificial light everywhere. We are polluting the sky with light and also intensity.
Right.
So it doesn't matter now actually whether you are going out or not.
Having said that, let us not challenge the sentiment of people because those who believe that it is not right to go
Yes,
and watch the
definitely,
moon,
we respect.
please don't watch it. We leave it to your discretion. For those who are moon watchers, for those who have their telescopes or maybe fancy lenses in place, please enjoy yourselves this evening. After all, it's a Saturday tomorrow, so I think you've got all the reasons to party with the moon tonight.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you so much, Praveen. And I think with that, we'll toss it back to Shruti.
Well, moving on, good news coming in from Tamil Nadu.